security guard seen on video shooting a man in the face with a stun gun made his first appearance in court today. I have more on the felony charges he's now facing.
A warning tonight ahead of the 4th of July holiday. Experts say fireworks can be triggering for people with PTSD.
From abandoned to adventure, the major transformation coming to Grossmont Center, and why Bass Pro Shop says La Mesa is the perfect fit.
Hundreds of people are celebrating 250 years of freedom and legal rights.
A security guard charged with shooting a World Cup fan in the face with a stun gun at a Carlsbad sports bar faced a judge for the first time today. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Chiquetto.
I'm Shana Handy. The shooting was caught on video and went viral last week. News 8's Alex Cheney was in the courtroom and joins us live with what happened. Alex.
Yeah, Shannon, that video has been seen and shared millions of times now. Today, the security guard who was charged with pulling the trigger stood in front of a judge and pleaded not guilty.
Thank you, sir, and good luck.
46-year-old David Marquez pleaded not guilty to 3 felony counts related to this video. Prosecutors say this video shows Marquez firing a stun gun into a man's face outside Park 101 in Carlsbad after Mexico's World Cup match last Wednesday. He's charged with assault with a deadly weapon, assault likely to produce great bodily injury, and assault with a stun gun.
We've all seen the video, correct? I mean, it's very hard to watch. I think it's just such a shocking case. It's just such a shocking image. And from about 1 foot away.
In court, prosecutors said the stun gun probe struck the victim in the corner of his left eye and about a centimeter below the center of his eye, saying he narrowly avoided a substantial injury and potentially worse charges for Marquez.
I think both the victim and the defendant were very lucky in this case that at least at this time, we have no serious injuries to report.
Park 101 told us last week it added extra security for World Cup matches and says Marquez no longer works at the bar and will no longer use that security vendor. The judge ordered Marquez not to work as a security guard while the case is pending, not to possess any weapons, including stun guns, to stay away from the victim and Park 101, and to waive certain Fourth Amendment search rights as a condition of his release on $30,000 bond.
Yes, sir.
In court, the DA says Marquez has a prior misdemeanor from 2006 for domestic violence. He held his fiancée by the throat and prevented her from calling 911. Prosecutors say the 21-year-old victim had been drinking and had been asked to leave the bar before the confrontation.
While the security guard does have a duty to remove disruptive people, he also arguably has a duty to keep everybody safe, including people he is escorting out of the bar. And again, we're just so glad that the victim, at least at this point, is okay.
Marquez faces up to 4 years in prison. He's due back in court in August. Reporting live, I'm Alex Cheney. Back to you.
Thank you, Alex. A homicide investigation is underway in Point Loma Heights tonight after a man was found wounded and unresponsive in the middle of a road. Officers found the man in the median of Nimitz Boulevard near Bill Cleater Park just before 2 a.m. He was rushed to a hospital where he later died. Investigators believe the man is in his 50s and say his injuries are not consistent with any sort of car crash. There are no details at this point on a possible suspect. Detectives are looking through nearby security video and asking for anyone with any information to call them.
A warning tonight ahead of the 4th of July. Fireworks can cause some traumatic Fireworks can set off serious anxiety for people living with PTSD, and experts want people preparing now, not on the holiday itself. I spoke with military organizations as well as a local service member about his concerns and ways to cope.
Fireworks are a 4th of July tradition, but for many people living with PTSD, instead of celebration, they can spark fear and anxiety.
I would say for a lot of people, it's not visible. Rapid heartbeat. You can feel a certain way just in your entire body, your muscles, your joints, everything gets more tense.
Jackson Johnson is an active duty Marine in the Wounded Warrior Battalion. He lives with PTSD symptoms and says fireworks can be a trigger. Despite that, the holiday is still his favorite, which is why he plans ahead.
For me, what helps is being in a place where I know it's coming with friends or people that I know, just as a way of like grounding and knowing I'm around trusted individuals.
Jackson is currently working with Freedom Dogs, an Oceanside nonprofit that pairs wounded service members with specially trained service dogs. Development Director Megan Oxford says Jackson's experience is common, and for some, preparing for the holiday means getting far away from the noise.
One of our Vietnam veterans, him, his wife, his service dog, and 5 kittens that they are raising right now. They are out in the desert, just somewhere where they can escape and kind of have some peace and quiet during a time of the year that he knows is pretty triggering.
A 2025 study from PTSD UK found that 94% of people with PTSD experienced a negative impact from fireworks, and more than 95% said the unpredictability was the hardest part to manage. More than 1 in 4 reported seeking medical help because of firework-related symptoms. Experts say it's not just military members. Anyone living with PTSD can be affected by loud, sudden sounds or large crowds.
PTSD can be diagnosed if someone has any threat or exposure to death, sexual violence, serious injury, or any really traumatic experience.
Shanae Ball is a veteran and the regional clinic director at the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at VVST, which provides mental health care for service members, veterans, and their families. She says Jackson is doing exactly what they recommend because when it comes to coping with triggers, preparation is key.
Know when the fireworks are expected to go off. Prepare yourself to be with people that you love and care about so that you have a support network. Eat well, sleep well, start journaling about it. Try to limit your alcohol intake as well.
So it's not, as I said in this story, it's not like their advice is, lock yourself in a room.
Right.
Just like the Marine I spoke with, he says this is his favorite holiday. He loves the fireworks, but you just need to make plans ahead of time, know what your symptoms will be and what triggers them, and learn how to cope. And I think it's really good advice that they gave there.
Be mindful and control your environment as much as you can in that situation, it sounds like.
Exactly. I mean, we talk a lot about your pets and their safety because they run off during fireworks. And I don't feel as though we hear about this part of it as often as we do with pets. So I think it's really good to get the word out and make sure that everyone enjoys the 4th of July.
Support your friends who are going through it.
Exactly. Meantime, the evidence is in, the witnesses have testified, and now the Larry Millette murder trial is entering its final stretch.
Closing arguments are expected Tuesday. Both sides will have will each have one last opportunity to persuade the jury before deliberations begin. News 8's Kelly Hessedall talked to a legal expert about key moments in the trial so far.
Yeah, to be honest, this is something I could have talked to her about for hours. And one of the big things I really wanted to discuss with her is the fact that Larry did not take the witness stand. Here's legal analyst Gretchen von Helms.
I think it probably would have helped his case because he was very in love with his wife. He really wanted her to be with him.
Even though he'd be open to cross-examination by the prosecution about why do you have poison in your house and where were you the 12 hours after she disappeared?
Well, then, if he was prepared to answer those questions, yes, but you can't speculate. So the jury is not allowed to consider whatsoever the fact that he did not testify, because people in this country are presumed innocent. Millions.
We also talked about the fact the prosecution never definitively pointed to a murder weapon. Was it a gun or was it poison?
Well, because they don't know. And so they can't prove or try to prove something that they don't know. They can raise ideas as to what it might be, but they don't have overwhelming evidence that it was one or the other.
The jury of 12 is expected to get the case Tuesday.
So the jurors are not supposed to go back there and say, I think this, I think that. They're supposed to go there and talk about it and say, what do you think? What do you think, to each juror? Then they toss in, oh, I thought this was important. Oh, I thought this was important. So the jurors talk about what evidence was important and what conclusion it leads to. And then they ask, because there's a presumption of innocence, is there a reasonable doubt? Do we have doubt?
Let's just say, for argument's sake, hypothetically, it is a hung jury. Do you believe the prosecution would retry Larry?
I believe they would, depending on the split of the jury. So if it's a split towards the prosecution side, they would probably retry him. If it's a split toward the defense side, they may not. It would be up to them.
So attorneys on both sides will come to the courthouse on Monday to hash out jury instructions. The judge will announce those jury instructions on Tuesday. We'll also have closing arguments on Tuesday, and then the jury will get the case. Now, Van Helm says it's likely that the jury will also have the option, in addition to first-degree murder, they'll also have second-degree murder as an option, as well as not guilty. Kelly Hessedall, News 8.
No cameras have been allowed in the courtroom, but we have experienced reporters there every single day of this trial. You can stay up to date with the latest developments online and on the go with our free CBS 8 streaming app.
For years now, people have wondered what would happen to those big empty buildings at Grossmont Center. Well, tonight we have an answer for you.
And I think it's going to be a great addition. A Bass Pro Shop store is coming to La Mesa. As News 8's Brian White found out, it's expected to transform the shopping center into a regional destination.
Yeah, Bass Pro Shops will be taking over this entire vacant area of Grossmont Center with a massive footprint stretching from the parking structure on one end up through the Macy's building and beyond that to the abandoned building that was a former RH outlet. It's one of the biggest redevelopment projects Grossmont Center has seen in decades. Federal Realty, which purchased the shopping center in 2021, says bringing Bass Pro Shops to La Mesa has been years in the making.
This was just a really perfect intersection of the right tenant at the right time with the right property to transform the shopping center into what it always has been to the community, but more importantly, what it needs to be and can be for the future.
Federal Realty says the project goes well beyond filling empty storefronts. The redevelopment will reshape the entire south end of Grossmont Center, creating the kind of footprint Bass Pro Shops was looking for.
The former Macy's building will be coming down, as will the former RH outlet and some other adjacent buildings. We'll be able to give them the footprint that they need to be successful, but we'll also be improving the parking and circulation.
Bass Pro Shops are part retail store and part attraction. The company's sprawling locations are designed to be destinations featuring outdoor gear alongside immersive displays celebrating fishing, camping, and wildlife. City leaders say the project could become the catalyst for bringing more shoppers and more retailers to Grossmont Center.
People from all over the county and the state and sometimes other states come in to shop at these stores. And so it's going to bring people to La Mesa.
Plans have now been submitted to the city of La Mesa for review. If approved, demolition could begin early next year, with Bass Pro Shops expected to welcome its first customers in the spring of 2028. So a lot of buzz here in La Mesa. People are definitely excited for what's coming here to Grossmont Center. I'm Brian White, News 8.
Thanks, Brian. Right now, San Diegans are honoring America's big birthday with an event celebrating your rights.
We'll take you there live, still ahead. Plus, the new safety measure being implemented for large events at the Rady Shell.
And a cool treat for some local shelter dogs. After this.